Hello, and welcome to Sound and Vision, episode 5. I am again your host, Ian James, and again I am joined by, as always, the brilliant and beautiful Hope Wade.
Hello.
And today, for episode 5, we are talking about
The man.
the man, the myth,
The myth.
the 1976 Oscar-winning classic.
I feel like you're going to start boxing on me.
I may. Rocky.
I like it. I can just talk through that theme all day. It gets me pumped.
We should have just left that running, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Just that would have been the show. Just sort of an hour of
For an hour of
Bill
Rocky.
Contis score, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would have been happy with that personally. I don't think you guys would be.
They were like, is it over yet?
But yeah, probably. Okay, so to tell this story, we have to focus on the man himself. Sylvester Stallone, yes, the American actor. Born in 1946. To proper Italian-American. His mum was obviously Jackie, everyone knows, for various reasons.
Fabulous Jackie.
Jackie, yeah. And she was born American. I think she's French descendant.
Okay.
And his dad was a proper Italian. So Italian dad, American mum in New York. Him and his brother, Frank, who, will feature in cameos and bits and pieces.
The lesser known
Stallone, yeah.
Stallone.
So the story starts with Sylvester Stallone being a young lad growing up in America in, not say poverty, but he had a pretty tough upbringing. Kind of straight from birth then. He was born, I think Jackie had a difficult birth with Sylvester Stallone, which is why he speaks slightly slurred and has that almost paralysis inside of his face, would you say? Yeah. So he was kind of against it from the start, if you know what I mean, which helped build this whole story up.
Yeah, gives you character.
It does, which he needed. Tough upbringing. He looked a certain way. He wasn't conventional, kind of Hollywood looking. When he decided to turn his hand to acting after doing like nearly every job going, if you ever have a chance to look through Stallone's jobs before he took on acting, that's very early. He worked as a zookeeper at one point, and also a cinema usher. Many little jobs to support himself. But when he kind of stepped out, as a young man to pursue acting in his early 20s. He basically struggled to find work, as pretty obvious by the look of him. And his first kind of roles then are minor parts in, I say slightly bigger movies, but he played a mugger, just playing those kind of thuggish looking kind of characters that he plays. I say mugger because he mugs Woody Allen in the film Bananas. And he also mugs Jack Lemmon in Prisoner of Second Avenue, I believe the title is now. It's been a while since I've seen it. And some just kind of student films. It had bits and pieces, nothing significant. Was going nowhere fast. Had no money. Got married in 1974, and had probably his best part up to that point in a film called Lords of Flatbush, which is a really cool little independent movie, American movie, where he co-stars alongside Henry Winkler
Happy Days?
Pre-Happy Days, yeah, and an actor I really like called Perry Lang as well. Interestingly, before we kind of branch off there, with Lords of Flatbush, Henry Winkler's famously said now that when they worked on the set of that movie, he kind of was very taken by Sylvester Stallone. They met on the set, and he was very taken by his whole kind of persona and the way he held himself.
His charisma.
Apparently, he based a lot of the Fonz character on Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is a fact. And also, Richard Gere was originally cast in Lords of Flatbush before he did anything. And he and Sylvester really fell out. I think Richard Gere believed that, to get into character, he had to kind of wind him up and taunt him and push him. And I think there's a story about him spilling a drink on Sylvester or throwing a sandwich at Sylvester or something to really wind him up. And Sylvester said, if you don't get him off this film set, I'm going to kill him. Richard Gere wouldn't back down, and it ended up with Richard Gere being replaced because he was it's good. That whole shoot actually would make a great podcast on his own. Yeah. Even though it's such a minor film.
So they replaced Richard Gere.
Yeah, but he wasn't Richard Gere as we know Richard Gere.
Oh, okay. So he was just a lesser known.
Oh, yeah, he was starting out. It had been his sort of first film.
Oh, okay.
But it's real funny that them two hated each other on that set.
Yeah.
Lords of Flatbush was better known today, I guess. It's not, it has a cult following. It's a film I really like. Anyway, Perry Lang replaced Richard Gere, and it's, you know, it kind of works out. Perry Lang's really good in it. So basically, and I think Stallone had a hand in writing the screenplay for that one too, if I'm correct. Or he wrote some of the dialogue, or you know, helped there on set. But the film didn't really lead to anything. You know, it wasn't like a start to anything for Sylvester. And the following year, you know, 1975, he had just got married. The year previous, his wife was pregnant, which would give him his first child, which was Sage, who tragically died a couple of years ago. But would also feature in the Rocky story because he plays his son in one of the later sequels. So married, with a kid on the way, no money, basically facing eviction in this acting career that was going nowhere. Sat at home watching the telly in 1975, and there was a fight between Muhammad Ali, the celebrated boxer, and a white no-oper called Chuck Wepner. And during this fight, Chuck Wepner was like a 100-1, no chance of winning. He actually knocked Muhammad Ali down and shocked the world, basically. You know, put Ali on his ass, if you don't let me say it. And eventually Ali kind of got up on the 8 count, so he was sort of 2 seconds away from winning the fight. And Chuck Wepner then stayed in the fight right to the 15th round, so he made Muhammad Ali go the distance, basically. You know, to the last 15 rounds against somebody he had no right to stand up to. And this is the catalyst for Rocky. This boxing match is what inspired Sylvester Stallone to write Rocky. He thought, wow, what if that happened? What if there was this white guy who came from nowhere just to give the champion of the world like the scare, you know, of his life? So this inspired Stallone to write this screenplay, which he wrote very quickly. I think he wrote it in a matter of like weeks. He was so like excited by writing this. And then once he eventually had it written, he then obviously wanted to make it into a movie. But he felt very strongly about this project because it was completely his. That the only way he wanted this film made is if he had the lead role, which was the hard sell.
Was he a boxer, like, at all?
No. Interestingly, no. I think he'd taken part in some amateur stuff, but nothing serious. He was just a fan of the sport. You know, I think he respected the sport enough, and he obviously knew enough about it to write what he wrote. So basically, he took this idea of Rocky around with him and tried to get it made. So taking it around a lot of studios with the idea of, you know, this is my screenplay. Do you want to buy it? But I must play Rocky. You know, scared a lot of people off. Nobody wanted to buy it. And then I think he took it to, I think Irwin Winkler and Robert Chartoff, who were producers. A lot of quite a lot of big films. They did They Shoot Horses, Don't They, with Jane Fonda years before, but like a lot of biggish movies were interested in it. And he said, we can get this film made cheaply, but we'll buy it off you. We don't want you in it. And Stallone was like, well, you know, you basically take the film with me or you don't have it at all.
Yeah.
And I think they offered him like a substantial amount of money as well, just to basically say, you know, do you mind stepping down and giving us your screenplay? And with the idea at this point, so the rumour goes, that they were going to cast Ryan O'Neal or James Caan or Burt Reynolds, I think, as Rocky. Which I know seems absolutely ludicrous now.
Yeah.
But that was the general idea. They were going to cast one of these big, you know, 70s kind of stars. I think even Robert Redford was mentioned at one point. It's bizarre thinking about it. It's one of those things, what if moments. Yeah. And I think Susan Sarandon was, maybe Sally Field, or someone was muted for the Adrian role. Yeah,
I could see Sally Field.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I don't know. There's just a lot. I mean, how much of this is rumor, I don't know. But basically, Stallone was a no-go. So he basically told the studio he'd sell it on the cheap. He was so desperate to get this out. He'd sell it them on the cheap if they cast him. And they said, well, you know, this deal might be okay if we can make this really low budget. They said, well, can you just send us a tape of something you've done? Like I said, at this point, other than Lords of Flatbush and a part in Death Race 2000, which he just came off, which again was a low budget Roger Corman production, which Paul Bartel directed. So he basically took them Lords of Flatbush, because that was the thing he was most proud of, and they sat and watched it and said, oh, actually, because he wasn't face to face with the executives at this point, he was just going back and forth via phone calls and stuff. They watched Lords of Flatbush and they thought that he was Perry Lang. He was a handsome American lead. So they were like, oh yeah, he's pretty good in Lords of Flatbush. Yeah, well, you know, wait, get him in here.
Yeah.
So he turns up and they're like, oh no, you're not the one we thought you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the.
Why do they always need the handsome?
Because that's what sells movies, and Hollywood hasn't really changed much since then. You know, when you talk about indie movies, That's where you go in for people who look conventional and look real. If it's a Hollywood movie, and MGM were, the big guns behind Rocky, they wanted, handsome or well-known, and I said Stallone just didn't fit the bill, which sadly.
Yeah.
But anyway, eventually he did sell it, and to cut long story short, to get into it. He sold in the movie. I can't remember the amount of money that he got, but he was obviously most proud that he was going to play the lead, his first lead role in something that he'd written himself. So in 1976, they shot the film early. So the Chuck Weapon fight that inspired it was in 75, and it was written at the end of 75, and it was filmed in early 76. Like I said, Stallone was going into this with I think this is why the film, for me, is so special, is that Stallone always said that the films reflected his own personal life. He said that every Rocky film was kind of telling the story of where he was in his own life at that point. And with Rocky 1, it was all or nothing. Like I said, with the marriage, with the child, with the lack of money, one last chance acting, it's now or never. And it really mirrors, that film really mirrors what was going on in Stallone's personal life. So in early 1976, they shot the movie on a budget of £1 million, which is mega cheap, Back then it was cheap, With John G. Avildsen directing, it was... I hate to call these kind of directors hacks, because they basically just hired to film movies, and there's no personal auteur kind of theory behind certain directors, that they just hired to come in and shoot a movie. And John G. Avildsen was one of those kind of directors. At this point, shot most famously Saved by the Tiger with Jack Lemmon, which Jack Lemmon won an Oscar for, actually.
Okay.
In a really good year where he was nominated against some really big people like Brando and Jack Lemmon and stuff. Jack Lemmon, who won it, but he was up against some really good people that year. If you look at the nominations from 1973, it's quite an impressive list, but he won it under John G. Avildsen's direction. So other than Joe and Save the Tiger, Joe was another good movie with Peter Boyle. Other than these two little dramas, he didn't have a great deal of big hits behind him anyway, so he rolled into Rocky to direct it. Stallone was just happy to be in it, so he'd written it, he was starring in it, which he was happy with. So the story of Rocky is basically, it's 1976 in Philadelphia, and the film centers in on our title character, Rocky Balboa, who is a just turned 30, small-time fighter, fighting around local gyms, nothing special, holding down the job as a debt collector for Joe Spinelli, who's in this, by the way, who's really good in this, kind of going nowhere. And that's the kind of how the film starts. Obviously, living like in a one-bedroom flat, living.
So he started off kind of late. In his 30s.
Yeah, so the film really mirrors him. It's Sylvester Stallone is almost playing himself, but instead of really wanting to be an actor, he really wants to be, wanted to be someone. And this is where the film really works and really connects. Because, I think most people who watch this film can relate to this movie. And when people talk about Rocky, they always go, it's this great boxing movie. And I think, personally speaking... because there's always this great big thing that, Raging Bull is the greatest boxing film ever made. It is. I'm not going to argue that at all. But for me personally, I prefer Rocky. I think it's so much more than just a boxing movie. I think there's so much more. And this is the reason I'm talking about this today, because I'm really passionate about this movie, how much I love it. And I really relate to the characters. And it's down to Stallone's screenplay and what he wrote and the way he plays it as well that makes the character so likeable. And the relationship between him and the woman that he eventually meets in the story.
Yo, Adrian.
Yeah, good.
Yo, Adrian.
Yeah. It was a, she works in the pet shop in town. She's this very shy kind of reclusive kind of woman, roughly the same age as him, is going nowhere like him. And it's a coming together. Basically, it's a love story, and it's so perfect that I believe in it completely. Like I said, I've got nothing, being a guy as well. A lot of people think I've got the macho attitude. I like romance in the movies when it's done a certain way, when it feels real, it feels honest. And I always felt honest with Rocky, and probably the most honest I've ever felt in any movie. That these two, considered unattractive people meet each other, connect, and eventually as the film goes on, as if you've not seen it, I'm sure you have, get together. The Adrian character is living at home with a kind of bullish, slobbish, very selfish brother, Paulie, who's played brilliantly again. We'll go on to the cast in a minute, but played brilliantly by Burt Young. And the film kind of focuses on Rocky trying to get Adrian's attention. He's kind of fallen in love with her, and she works right opposite the gym where he goes every day, or he tries to go every day. And eventually, they get together, and basically the champion of the world, the boxing world, then Apollo Creed, who's played by Carl Weathers, is setting up for a US
bicentennial.
Yes, boxing bout, which falls flat because the competitor that he's going to fight drops out with 5 weeks left, and he still wants this fight to go ahead. So, because he's so, I mean, the character is based on Muhammad Ali, and I think it really shows. As I said, the fight that inspired this whole movie anyway. He basically has to find someone else to fight in the 5 weeks that he's got left. So it's got to be a quick 5 weeks to get this fight on the road. So he decides to do almost like charity, that he'll find a local fighter and give them a shot at the best title, so he calls it, the greatest title in the world, and gives them a title fight, which is just almost fairy tale like, which I think Rocky has the kind of fairy tale kind of quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he selects Rocky Balboa out of a list of names because he likes the sound of it, and he thinks, it sounds, I don't know, I mean, the name is...
Like a fighter.
It does, yeah. Or as he describes it, Apollo Creed versus the Italian Stallion.
Yeah.
Sounds like he got that monster movie, as he says in the movie. So he picks his name out thinking, this is someone I'll knock out in 2 rounds and it'll make me look great because I give, this no hope or a chance. And it's all good propaganda for myself. So he puts on, puts it out there and he wants to fight Rocky. Rocky hears about this, accepts the fight. But, although he has his own kind of problems and demons to overcome before he has this fight. And Burgess Meredith, the great Burgess Meredith, who plays Mickey.
Oh, the old guy.
Yeah. Or as Hope calls him, the old guy.
The old guy that teaches him to eat lightning and crap thunder. Is that what he says? He does,
yeah. In the second one, yeah. But yeah, he does eventually. So
that's a life lesson right there.
Yeah. So yeah, he's friends with Rocky already. He knows him because he runs the local gym. And when he gets wind of Rocky having a chance at this fight, he also sees it, the Mickey character then, also sees it as a chance for himself. Mm-hmm. And this is what I mean about this film. There's so many little layers to this movie that the Mickey character takes on this fight because he's this guy who's got to a certain age in life. And again, he hasn't really accomplished what he really wants to do. He's not happy with where he is. And I think that's the thing with Rocky. It's a lot of characters who are not happy where they are in life, Mm-hmm. The Rocky character's not happy where he's like. Adrian's not happy where where she is. Brother Paulie, who works in the abattoir and is going nowhere, is not happy where he is. Mickey is at a point in his life where he's not happy where he is. And they almost form like a surrogate family. Mm-hmm. Because they all want to better themselves. And this is like this big opportunity that is given them to kind of all prove something to themselves. And I think, again, all of us want to prove something to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And by the end, so, he accepts the fight. They take on the fight. The rest is history. I'm sure you know the outcome in the movie. But it's just almost like, if you don't, by the way, he loses. On points. But the whole point of the movie is that he went the distance. He lasted 15 rounds and that's all he cares about. It went up film ends. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it was never about... It wasn't so much about
winning.
Yeah, it wasn't about winning. It was just proving. And it wasn't about...
They can make it...
That it just proving to himself that, that I can do this in life. This is something I can do. It wasn't about winning money. It wasn't about having your picture taken. Like, the generation of today is so concerned with being famous. Mm. It's just... It was about proving something to himself, which I think we're all striving for in this world. And even I feel, I even feel the same way myself. Doing this podcast, it's not about fame or like trying to do anything to further myself in that. It's just to prove that I can do something. Mm-hmm. And that's why Rocky hits home for me. It is that. It's perfect coming together of those ideas. I think for a movie, like it's so much more than a boxing movie. So if you listen to this and you think, "Oh, Rocky is a boxing movie," I don't honestly. The sequels, which we'll get onto in a second, to a degree. But the first one, there's so much more of a small character drama shot on a £1 million budget in 1976, and like I said, it's one of my favourite films. Made for £1 million. Okay, it went on to gross 225 million.
Wow.
So the film made £224 million.
That's crazy.
So it did change Sylvester Stallone's life.
Yeah.
Also,
and he believed in it, and
he believed in it the moment he started writing it.
Yeah.
Completely. It went on to be nominated for dozens of Oscars. It won Best Picture. It won Best Director for John G. Avildsen, which is a big foot up for him too, because like I said before this, he was doing these little dramas and taking whatever jobs he could. He went straight on from Rocky to, though he didn't finish it, but he went on to work on Saturday Night Fever, I think, after this. So he got a decent gig after this one, although he never completed it, before being replaced. So, yeah, best film, best director, and best editing as it won. But it was nominated for many other things. I can't remember if it was nominated for best score for Bill Conti, which is really sad for me, because I've always said, and ask anyone who knows me, the Bill Conti's score for Rocky is one of the greatest scores in the history of cinema to me. It's a major part of that film working. And anyone who knows Rocky and loves Rocky will know. You know, we played a little snippet at the beginning of this show, but there's so many other little pieces. It's not just that. There's loads of little pieces. Little piece called Philadelphia Morning, which I really like, and Go in the Distance, which is this iconic piece of music that always plays during the end fight, which really sort of builds. It's a very emotional movie. Like even when I watch it now, it used to kind of make me feel. It's a very uplifting movie.
Yeah, it's just amazing how it has one dream has an effect.
Yeah.
On so many lives, and so even within the movie, but outside of the movie, that it affected people like directors and cast,
everyone involved.
It's an inspiration to people.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it truly is. And for me personally, it's one of the sort of most uplifting films I've ever seen. I think I've seen a lot of movies, but Rocky would make sort of three of the most uplifting films I've ever seen, alongside Local Hero by Bill Forsyth, which I really like as well. But I can't give it enough credit. And like you said, it changed a lot of people involved with it. Burt Young was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Talia Shire, who plays Adrian. It was Francis Coppola's sister in real life, but other than minor parts and
that's his sister.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage's auntie.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're all related.
Yeah, do you know Jason Schwartzman?
Yeah,
that's his mum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, Adrian or Talia Shire is his mum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was Coppola's sister and had smaller parts in the Godfather 1, Godfather 2, but again, her career wasn't really going. She went into Rocky as a low-budget movie. Her career wasn't really going anywhere. And the interesting thing, like, I can add loads of trivia to this, is they all picked out their own costumes for Rocky. They brought their own clothes to the set.
Okay.
They got to pick their own clothes because it was such a small...
Personal, but it's more personal that way.
Absolutely.
I would think than somebody picking it for you.
Yeah, and some of the... Talia Shire said that some of the outfits that Adrian wears are from her own wardrobe.
Yeah.
So they all kind of brought something to the movie. She was nominated for I think she was nominated for Best Actress. So Stallone is nominated. So this film wins these Oscars, and Stallone is nominated for Best Actor. Is also nominated for Best Screenplay, which in 1976 was only the third person ever to be nominated for 2 Oscars for the same movie, and the only other 2 people previous to him was Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles.
Oh wow!
So Stallone was then the third. Which again is incredible.
A big accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Especially just coming from nothing and just
Absolutely
an idea
nothing,
and a dream that he wanted to make this film on his own.
Yeah.
Good thing he stuck with it.
Absolutely.
And didn't sell out for a lot of money.
Yeah. Money was never, it wasn't about that.
Yeah.
And
I think that's important when you have something you want to make it your own.
Yeah. And it was a big reason why we wanted to highlight that film here on our show. You know, because it's inspiring and people need to follow their dreams, you know. Don't listen to what everyone else says, folks, okay? You know, if you've got a dream, just keep going for it. Yeah. So, it wins the Oscars, it makes £224 million at the box office. Like you said, it boosted everyone involved in it. Obviously Stallone, Talia Shire, Burt Young, who plays Paulie brilliantly, Adrian's loutish brother. But, you know, there's a heart in there somewhere buried underneath all those layers of coats and stuff he wears. And previous to Rocky, he had smaller parts in Chinatown, I suppose, most famously. Across 110th Street. But he went on to become a great character actor, and probably one of my favourite character actors. And he had a bigger career in the early 80s, where he's in Once Upon a Time in America and Pope of Greenwich Village. And
Back to School.
Absolutely, nice shit. Yeah, Back to School, Blood Beach, many things. Amityville too. Yeah. So I always like Burt Young, and you know, and yeah, this is another good one for him. Most interesting though, for the Apollo Creed role, Carl Weathers is cast, who was a former American football player. I think he played for Oakland Raiders. Retired in 1974 through some injury and wanted to pursue acting. So I think Rocky's like the 4th acting credit that he receives, but previous to this he did a couple of blaxploitation movies, Blacktown, Friday Foster, I think both with Pam Grier. So this was his first notable part there, and he's perfect. He's so good. You almost wouldn't believe that he wasn't
A boxer?
Or a boxer or an actor. I mean, he's an
actor,
athlete, but
yeah.
but he's got good acting chops in this, and he plays that whole
Yeah.
big-headed, Muhammad Ali kind of role to the hilt, and he just plays it so well. He's so perfect for this movie.
That's like what we were talking about with the musicians in movies. Like it is just there is a lot of
Sports,
athletes,
who go into movies,
who go into acting. It's just
and some of them are
Many
slightly lame. You always think,
Oh, yeah.
But there was a few Carl Weathers out there as well.
yeah.
It was interesting in Action Jackson, which I know you loved the title of.
I love it. It's a good movie.
Yeah, and Predator as well. Anyway, back to Rocky.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of similar to the cast. Burgess Meredith, who I mentioned, who played Penguin in the Batman series in the 60s, and also was in sort of 3 or 4 episodes of Twilight Zone, but was an actor way back from the 1930s. And just before Rocky, he did Day of the Locust, which is a brilliant movie about the movie-making scene in LA. Incredible little movie. So that was the kind of film that took him into Rocky. It kind of got him the foot up for Rocky, which is funny though, because I think Burgess Meredith is probably most famous now for Rocky. Interesting, which is really funny. This is the film he's probably, if anyone sees a picture of Burgess Meredith, the first thing they say will probably be, "Oh, it's Mickey," rather than all his of Mice and Men in various films that he made before. So again,
It spawns a sequel.
exactly, which this works. Okay,
Well, of course they want to make more. The Hollywood wants
exactly,
to make more money.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to continue the story. People want to know more. They want to give the people more.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting for me. Rocky is the film it is. I love it. I completely suckered into part 2 there because again, I invested so much time in those characters. I was one of those people that wanted to see more of it. And the good news is that Sylvester Stallone writes it again, and he doesn't stray too far from the formula, if you know what I mean. So basically, Irwin Winkler and Robert Chardoff come to him again and say, we need a sequel. Can you write one? And he said, I'll write it. But this time, like I said, John G. Avildsen who won Best Director for it, was approached, but he was busy doing work on Saturday Night Fever, which I mentioned before he got replaced on anyway. Interesting a bit, John G. Avildsen, though. He kind of went away from the Rocky franchise and he ended up making all the Karate Kid movies in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And then he did The Power of One. Did you ever see that with Stephen Dwarf?
No.
And then he made 8 Seconds. They're all kind of sport movies, very Rocky-like. I mean, even Karate Kid is to a degree. I mean, Bill Conti even did the score for that as well. 8 Seconds was like a rodeo movie with Luke Perry.
Yes.
Luke Perry?
Yep, I remember that one.
Yeah, okay. But he kind of shot these like sporty movies after. It's almost like the only thing that I seem to be a success at is these kind of movies, which is kind of sad. But anyway, so Rocky 2 goes into production. Okay, Stallone's got the screenplay. It's good to go. Here we go. John G. Avildsen can't direct it. Stallone insists in 1979, I'm going to direct it. Okay, and since Rocky, he had a lead role in a very reputable movie called Fist, which is about early union and stuff with Rod Steiger, which flopped. Right, and then he directed his first movie the previous year, a small movie called Paradise Alley, which I really like. Again, another little film I like, but it did flop. Unfortunately for Stallone. It is funny because he wrote that one as well, starred in it, directed it, even did the score, or he kind of did songs, even sings in it, which is slightly tragic. You can't do it all. So Paradise Alley kind of flops as well, right? So but he's insisting that this is my script. This time round, I'm going to direct it as well. And they're like, you had this flop the year before, but remembering is kind of, is kind of like almost like he's the lucky man. Maybe we should let him direct it because he's proved us wrong in the past. Let's let him do it again.
Yeah.
So Rocky 2 rolls into production in 1979, and it is shot on a $7 million budget. So not a massive jump up from the first one. From 1 to 7.
Not a massive? Oh, that's a
From
big
1 to 7,
jump.
yeah, but we're not in the big double figures.
No.
So in 1979, it's Rocky 2. Stallone this time not only stars and writes, but he also directs. And the story this time is that Apollo Creed, who's slightly embarrassed that he only won the match in the first one on points, demands a rematch.
Oh, okay.
But before we get to that point, it does carry on the Rocky and Adrian story, which is really sweet. And in this one, they get married on the cheap because he's given obviously a substantial amount of money for the fight in the first one, which buys them a marriage and a house. And Adrian falls pregnant. And again, we're mirroring kind of Stallone's situation in real life, that the money soon runs out. Okay, so he has to take a job. So he takes like a load of menial kind of labour jobs, works in the abattoir, because Paulie gets him a job in there. Burt Young, slightly less to do in this movie, but he takes over Rocky's old job as the debt collector for Joe Spinell, who we kind of touched on briefly. He was a great character actor from the 1970s, by the way, and I should have given him a bigger shout for the first one. Did Maniac eventually, which he wrote as well.
Yeah, love him.
Yeah, he's great. He's in Taxi Driver and stuff, and The Godfather too. But so basically, Paul is now working in Rocky's old debt collecting job. Rocky's taking his menial kind of factory jobs and stuff to support Adrian. Has a go at advertising, realises he can't do that because he can't read. We're at the point where I start to say that from Rocky 2 onwards, right, there is always something to... It's almost like a plot device in all these Rocky sequels now, that they'll give you something that you really want him to... You'll root for him. I mean, Stallone knows a winning formula, he really does, and I think he does a good job on this one. But it's the star of the Rocky formula. And in this one, he's running out of money, he's risking going blind, he has a baby on the way, and if that's not enough, Adrian falls into a coma.
Oh, no.
Just after she's given birth, yeah. So it's is he, will he, won't he?
Yeah.
And just before all this, like I said, Creed wants a rematch. He offers Rocky the rematch. Rocky's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm risking going blind. I've got a kid on the way. And then he kind of realising that he needs the money. He thinks I better do it. And then Adrian falls into a coma and he's like, I'm not going to do it. And it's will he, won't he kind of scenario going on. And eventually we know he will. So he gears up for a rematch. And cue the Rocky cliches are going to slightly start now, the training montage, which again, it still works though, it's still so much fun. Bill Conti's score again is great, which sends him into, again, the title fight with Apollo Creed. A few changes to the screenplay, I think, for this one now during it, because Talia Shire, again, who plays Adrian, it started getting some decent acting gigs at this point, something she was proud of. She did a film called Old Boyfriends, which is an unseen movie from the same year. And she was away filming bits and pieces of that. So they come up with the idea that Adrian watches the fight in this one at home because they could shoot her scenes later of her in an house with a telly. It's an economically cheaper way of doing things. Yeah. But it kind of works. I think it's quite a sweet touch that she's at home with the newborn baby just out of hospital and she watches from home. I think it works for the movie. Again, Mickey turns up to train him. And I think... it's a big elaborate fight which took like 20 odd weeks of rehearsing and training for, so you get a grandiose kind of fight. Where in the first one, like I said, it never felt like the boxing was the main point of it, but in this one we're gonna, Stallone's gonna put on a show for everyone for his sequel, and he does. He produces the goods, he comes up with the good stuff again, and we have this epic fight that goes 15 rounds again, and to the point where both fighters collapse, and it's like whoever gets up first is gonna win. And of course we're all rooting for Rocky because we're now in love with the character, or at least I was. And Adrian's at home watching Paulie, and it's like, will he do it, won't he do it?
Who wouldn't root for Rocky? I want to know those people.
Of course.
I want to know what kind of people those are.
I know. Anyway, Rocky gets up, and yes, he wins the bout. And if I'm being really honest, as far as I'm concerned, as a fan of the franchise, it kind of ends there, really, if I'm being honest. I think, Rocky wins the bout, proves to the world, that he could do it, proves to Adrian he could do it, and he's going to be financially good. And Rocky... the story, as far as I was concerned, really ends at the end of part 2, and I don't think it could ever top what comes at the end of part 2. And after this movie, it's like I admire the first 2 and I enjoy the rest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Not saying I don't like the sequels that are coming, but I stopped admiring them as films and just took it as as kind of entertainment, which they are. And Stallone's very good at doing what he does, I think. Part 2 also famous for the scene, the training montage where he's chased by like a million kids through the town of Philadelphia, which is very pivotal to the first 2 movies. It's shot in
which is reenacted in the later sequel of Creed.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, we got to run and get the kids chasing it.
Of course, yeah.
800 extras, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 800 children chasing it.
Oh Lord.
800 children, and we struggle with 2 here. But yeah, 800 children.
That's a lot.
So yeah, Rocky 2, 7 million budget, makes 200 million, I believe. So a little bit less than the first one, but again, a massive return on a movie. The Oscars aren't so forthcoming this time though. I think people have realised that he's gone the formula route. But again, it's like I said, it's very solid. It's a very solid sequel. I really like it. If you're a fan of the first one, I think it really works. It's a good, as good as a sequel as you were going to make, I think. And I really enjoy it. So yeah. So Rocky 2 ends there, and now we're into the cartoon era of Rocky movies.
Oh, wait, but I like 4.
Yeah,
4 is one of my favorites.
I know. So, okay, Stallone, has proved his point. He goes off to do many of things. Can I just point out at this point as well that he had an interview going back 15 years ago on English TV. And he was sat there and, I can't remember who was hosting the show. It might have been Jonathan Ross or someone from over here. And they said to Sylvester Stallone, who's your favourite co-star that you've ever had in the movie? And I think a lot of people were like, we know he's worked with Sharon Stone, Dolly Parton, all these names. He said Talia Shire. He said she'll always be my sort of favourite co-star, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
Like I said, sweet. Yeah, and I thought the chemistry between them two is so good in those 2 movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did he pick her as in casting, or did they pick her separately?
I think they picked her separately, but it really works.
Yeah.
I think they lucked out with that. I think that whole thing was meant to be, though.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So, Rocky 1, loads of money Oscars. Rocky 2, loads of money. It's, we enter into the next decade. And again, these films are still mirroring Sylvester Stallone's life, his life at this point. So, in 1982, he's attempted to write another Rocky film. Like I said, it doesn't really warrant one at this point. And personally, in terms of writing and story, there's a massive dip in quality, in my opinion. But again, you're so invested in the characters. And when anyone makes a sequel or a follow-up, you're always tempted to look, aren't you? I mean, I know you're a massive fan of this Beverly Hills 90210, which is returned.
This Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
You mean the Beverly Hills 90210. It's not no this. It's the.
Okay, yeah, she takes this stuff very seriously. But you're very tempted to, even now, even though it might be really bad, you still want to see it, don't you? Because you've invested in the characters.
You mean the new one that's coming out might be really bad because there's nothing bad about 90210, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, like, and the same for anyone. Like when the X-Files came back, everyone was like, "Oh, it's the X-Files." I was still.
Oh, it was really good when it came back.
Okay, I never seen it. I'll be honest, I never seen. Which we should do a show on the X-Files.
Yeah, it was really good when it came back. I thought I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a few friends who liked it. I didn't see it. To me, it was just like, oh, it's the X-Files, a bit late in the day in it. But people liked it, so hey, what do I know?
Yeah, no, they kind of went back on some of the episodes, but that's another podcast.
Okay, so bringing it back to Rocky 3, made in 1982.
I don't remember this one as much. There's always like 1 and 2, and then 4.
Okay.
Is played a lot.
You can. I really like. I say I really like. It's not quite on the same level as the first and second for me, but I still really like this film. It's really fun. Basically, it picks up the Rocky character years later, and it, like I said, mirrors Stallone's life because at this point, Sylvester Stallone's had plastic surgery in real life, which is funny because they highlight that in the script. Mm-hmm. They touch on it.
Okay.
Because Paulie says, "Oh, you got your face all fixed up nice." And so it's like, if you wondered why Stallone doesn't resemble what he did in the first, because he looks very chiseled in this.
Okay.
And physically, I think it's the best that he's ever looked in any movie. Mm-hmm. Apparently, there was a regime that he was on where he had he would only eat 10 egg whites.
Yeah.
And a slice of toast a day. Mm-hmm. A day.
He had like a boxer's body. That's why I'm surprised that he wasn't a professional.
He does in that one for sure. And I think, like I said, 10 egg whites and a slice of toast every day. That's all. And I think he did like 2 miles running, so many laps in the swimming pool, a couple of 12 sparring. Well, he went for it big time on this one to get physically, and he looks it. It work's paid off because it's the best he ever looked.
But so you don't have to look physical to beat somebody. What's the we watched a fight with the British guy. Was he British or American? But he looked so out of shape, and he won, didn't he?
Yeah, like he just walked out of the pub and like someone stole his kebab.
he had his 6-pack of beer in his belly.
Yeah, and it was dangling over his belt. But hey-ho.
But he won, and so it just goes to prove that you don't have to be that fit to beat somebody.
Which gives us men hope, I'm sure, especially myself. So this is the best Stallone's looked in any of them. Again, the cast roll back. I mean, it's almost like Popeye to me. You've got Rocky as Popeye, Adrian as Olive, Popeye, you did that whole thing, it's like Rocky. And then you got like, that was great, by the way. And then you got Burt Young as Wimpy.
Yeah.
Almost, like the kind of slop hanging behind him.
Yeah, he needs his cheeseburger.
Yeah, so, it's this kind of cartoon family, which they start resembling by this part. They've got a kid now as well. So Rocky 3 starts off with, they've got loads of money, they've done really well, he's now the champion of the world, he's had 10 title, defense fights. Mm-hmm. And now he's decided to retire. So, let's...
After he gets all fit, and then now he's going to retire.
He gets fit for the movie.
Okay.
So he looks the part like he's been boxing for the last 10 years or whatever it is after the second one, I'm not sure. So yeah, and he kind of, you know, he's won these 10 fights, he's got loads of money, big mansion, everything he's ever wanted. So, so basically, we've lost Rocky from the first one or two movies. We're not so sympathetic towards him now. But he's, again, Stallone, like I said, it's the Rocky cliche. This time he has to find a way of getting us back on his side. So he is challenged to a fight by this new boxer in town, played by Mr. T, called Clubber Lang.
Oh, yes.
Who, as much as I like Mr. T, and he kind of suits this role in terms of the way he kind of talks and holds himself, you can clearly tell, personally for me, that he wasn't a boxer. But again, he looks the part and sounds the part. So
What you talking about, fool?
all that business, hey, don't turn your back on me, old man. All that business, yeah. Which my son, again, Gene, if he's listening to this, loves. He loves the Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
He loves all these kind of cartoon villains that we get now from the next movies. So Clubber Lang, aka Mr. T, challenges Rocky to a fight. Rocky's, oh, I'm retired, I'm not doing that anymore. He's like, oh, you know, you're scared of me, kind of thing. And they end up having a fight. Which Rocky loses halfway through the movie. But again, just to bring it back to what I was saying, we're in the Rocky cliches now. Okay, there has to be something to make you root for him. So in this one, Mickey is pushed before the big fight in the middle of the film and then dies. So Mickey's died. So we've got something to root for here. Do you know what I mean? You know, in two, he could be going blind. Adrian's in a coma. In this one, Mickey dies.
Yeah.
Just to get some sympathy back there. Okay,
Yeah.
so poor Burgess Meredith. Well, I'm sure by this point he probably wanted out of the franchise anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, we feel for him again. And the Apollo Creed character, who was the main, you know, villain in the first two, is kind of back. But this time he's back to help Rocky. You know, he meets up with Rocky and he's like, you know, maybe we could win the belt back together, which is what happens. Eventually he trains Rocky. We have this big fight that we know we're building up to. And he takes him off to LA to show him, you know, the train, the way, the eye of the tiger, which is also written by Survivor for this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, Stallone approached him with a phone call, said, you know, I'm making this Rocky movie, can you write me a song? And they wrote Eye of the Tiger, which is...
God, I just remember that video with the helicopter coming in, and it's like...
Yeah.
That's like the big video of the time.
There you go,
80s.
see? And so Stallone kind of, you know, give him a real hand in there. It's like,
Yeah,
write
because
me
it was
something.
popular.
Oh, it's massive. It still is now, and it's instantly recognisable.
Yeah.
So we've got this big A to Z to back up this movie as well. And yes, he fights Clubber Lang in this end fight and overcomes him, you know, wins the title back with Apollo Creed, and they've now become best friends over this. It's been a bonding for a Creed and Rocky. And also, this is also the first of the movies where they introduced the statue, which they built of Rocky, and they stand at the top of the Philadelphia steps, which was a prop. And I'm not 100% sure on this, but it was
Did
a prop.
they keep it?
Yeah, this is it. I think it's there now. I'm sure it is. I think people campaigned enough for it to be there, and I think when people visit Philadelphia, they almost expect it to be there.
Yeah.
I think the people it's always that Rocky statue. You know, Rocky was a character for God's sake, but the people have spoken, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's there.
Oh, well, any Philly people, let us know if
Yeah,
it's there.
absolutely, please do, because I'm not 100% sure, but I like to think that it's there.
Yeah.
Being a fan.
That'd
Okay.
be cool to see.
Yeah,
As you climb the stairs. Run up the stairs, I should say.
that's what people do when they go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one makes 270 million.
Oh.
So this is the
so
biggest
good.
one at this point. So again, there's people want more of this. So of course, we're going to get Rocky 4.
I liked 4.
So in 1985, we get, for me, probably the silliest movie of the whole franchise.
That's why I like it. I like silliness.
That's why you're with me. So in 1985, we get Rocky 4. And the most political of the Rocky movies.
Oh,
Okay,
because you have the Russian.
Yeah, and you were going for the whole America, and obviously Hope being American. If you've not listened to any of the previous shows, Hope's American. You were going for this whole thing with Russia, like Gorbachev and Reagan. And
Oh, of course. 80s, that's all it is
Yeah.
Russians against Americans.
brilliantly spoofed in Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Two Tribes. Is it where they have the mud wrestling match?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this big thing going on between Russia and America, which Stallone's quite happy to put into his screenplay in his slyest way.
Yeah.
Even though the cast is completely full of caricatures, has to be said. This time, it's Rocky. You know, he's won the belt after Clubber Lang. He's proved himself. He's now friends with Apollo Creed again. He's got the mansion again. He's got the money. So you know, everything's all good. And and then you know, this Russian invasion happens. That this big, you know, I mean, how do you describe Dolph Lundgren, by the way? Who's Swedish, by the way, but you know, plays this Lunkin Russian, almost like a missile shaped
He's
as
like
a
a
man.
chiseled blonde
Yeah.
sculpture, I guess.
With like no real acting experience before this. It was like I've toad hoped that he was Grace Jones's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And while she was auditioning for, or working on A View to a Kill, someone approached him and said, "Oh, are you an actor?" And he's like, "No, not really." And he was like, "Well, can you do anything?" And he has a small part in A View to a Kill, but Stallone kind of seen these pictures of him and stuff and said, "Oh, you're perfect for what I want, this big, scary." It's almost like he is like this Russian missile in disguise. He used the threat coming to America. It's how ridiculous this film is.
And to find out he is like a smarty pants.
Very intelligent.
He's like
guy.
so smart.
Yeah, he's a professor or something, I believe.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy as well. If you see an interview with Dolph Lundgren, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like it.
Okay, so he goes into this movie as the villain of the piece, brought
And
over.
his girlfriend.
And his wife in the movie, Bridget Nielsen, who is Brigitte Nielsen again. Again, who's not Russian. But, so yeah, Stallone's wife is conveniently cast in this movie. Stallone married to her at this point in real life. And she plays Dolph Lundgren's wife in the movie. And kind of the woman pushing him into this whole thing, manipulative kind of little role that she plays very well, even though it's in a small part.
She always plays good roles like that. And she was like in Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And she kind of had like
yeah, like I know what you're saying. She just has that demeanor about her where
completely.
she can
icy. Yeah. Anyway, so Bridgie and Dolph come over to America, backed up by Michael Pataki, another great American character actor who I really like, playing a Russian. No one's Russian in this movie. So they've all come over to set up this fight, preferably with Rocky, but they're not going to get Rocky. So the next best thing is, why don't we fight retiring champion Apollo Creed? Why not? He's the one everyone knows in America. It's funny, it's almost like they wanted Rocky, but they end up getting Apollo Creed, so a little bit like, ugh. We've got Apollo, which is ridiculous. Creed at this point is retired, long retired, friends with Rocky, but now wants a little bit of fame for himself. He always wanted that bit of attention, so he accepts a exhibition match, which not only does he lose, he's killed in. Again, it's the Rocky cliche. It's like, hey, can we get people to root for Rocky this time? We've killed Mickey. Who else can we kill? He's no friends with Creed. Let's kill Creed. So they kill Apollo Creed, which...
Oh, that was sad.
Yeah, I think Carl Weathers... I'm not sure how Carl Weathers felt about it. Whether he was happy with Stallone for writing him out the series or not, I don't know. But
you can't leave out James Brown coming in.
Okay, yeah, exactly. There's lots of little things going on in this movie. Personally speaking for myself, it's pretty ridiculous, this movie. It plays like a cartoon almost, but as Hope says, there's a lot of fun to be had in it. James Brown has a cameo doing Living in America, which is got to be seen to be believed. And then he kills Creed cold-bloodedly and doesn't seem to care, which then obviously sets off Rocky Balboa to seek revenge and to also tame Russia at the same time. Adrian at this point is like, I really feel sorry for Talia Shire because she no longer really exists in these Rocky movies except to just sit there and cry. And Rocky, and she doesn't really do a lot. She's kind of basically written out these movies now.
Yeah.
They've become these macho fests for Stallone, unfortunately, but they were very fun. So the end of the movie, we're in Russia for this big fight where Stallone will get revenge. With some of the most interesting training montages I've ever seen. It almost sounds like Europe's Final Countdown is playing while all this is going on. And this is a really stadium rock kind of score going on, which feels really irrelevant. Feels relevant for a film made at that time dealing with what it's dealing with. But in terms of Rocky, it feels really out of place. And apparently this is the only one Bill Conti never worked on with the score. He was off, he'd been off doing the score for Karate Kid, which we mentioned earlier on, which John Javelson was directing. So he did him as a favour, which he stayed on as he kind of scored those Karate Kid movies. So we missed out on this one. So we got a big stud rock with Survivor and various other things going on. I'm not 100% sure about it.
Karate Kid's my favorite.
Again, that's another one.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Let's bring it back. So we end up in Russia for this big climatic fight. Again, Rocky wins. Why wouldn't he? But it's a big 15-round epic with Stallone finally giving his speech at the end where he unifies America and Russia, which is completely ridiculous. And groan-worthy, in my opinion. But hey-ho, it makes £300 million at the box office, so who's complaining? Everyone's happy with that. And then even though it made a lot of money, it takes 5 years to make another sequel, which in 1990 arrives with Rocky V. This time Stallone's career is kind of faltering slightly, so he kind of goes into this movie with the angle of they're going to bring it back to the roots. Whether that completely works or not, I'm not really sure. I know there's a lot of fans of this movie, even though Stallone really regrets it. He said it's the one of the movies in the whole franchise that he dislikes the most. And it basically has the Rocky character returning back home to Philadelphia, where he meets this young kid and is now told that he has to retire. So he trains this kid up to be the champ, which he eventually becomes. Then he turns on Rocky, and everyone's like, "You'll never be what Rocky was," and they're forced into this fight, which they eventually have out in the street. So the film ends on a street fight, which of course Rocky wins. But I mean, any really comments I can make on this one is it feels the most dated of the series. I think, even, which is saying something after Rocky 4. And a lot of fans kind of laugh as well that at the end of part 4, his son is like 7 years old or something. When this movie opens, he's like 14. So it's took 7 years to get from Russia back to America.
Yeah.
If you believe, if you're going to judge it on his child's years. Not really a lot to say about this film, really. I don't think it's as bad as everyone sort of thinks it is, and I think it's a slight improvement on part 4. But, the box office says no, and it doesn't make the same amount of money, so it kind of, that's the end of the MGM or Winkler and Charles giving Stallone money to make these Rocky films. And the only bit of film really add to that is that Rocky's character originally died in the original script at the end of part 5. But everyone believed it was such a downer that they kind of rewrote the ending so it would be triumphant, which fits with the whole Rocky, philosophy of all the movies, I guess. So in 1990, officially the Rocky franchise ends. Would you have been happy with that?
Supposed to be.
Would you have been happy with that?
Probably. I'm fine with just the first 4.
The first 4, I'll give it the first 2.
The first 2.
I will sum up there with the last Rocky movie, the last official kind of Rocky movie, because there, as everyone knows, there is Creed movies, but that's a whole other show. I'll end by talking about the last one now, which is Rocky Balboa. I believe that they didn't want to call it Rocky 6. It sounds so cheap, so they called it Rocky Balboa. And to be fair, it's probably the third best movie of the whole franchise, I think, after 2. If I'm being honest in terms of feeling like a Rocky film and having the same kind of setup as a Rocky movie, and where 3 and 4 feel like cartoons, and 5, it is what it is. But in this one, basically, 16 years later, Rocky is now living in Philadelphia with no money, which we now know from part 5. He runs a restaurant, which he named Adrian. Yeah, after his deceased love. Which is a nice sweet touch for the movie.
Yeah.
He's kind of disconnected with his son in this one. Again, we got the Rocky crux that he's basically, we're going to feel sorry for him now because not only does he have no money, he also doesn't have Adrian, which is his whole life, which is really sad. Originally, she was in the script, but when he read through it, he kind of realised that the film worked 100 times better if her character was dead. Apparently he rang Talia Shire up there and said, I hate to say this, but I'm going to kill off the Adrian character. You have to get her blessing.
Yeah.
Which is really sweet. And she was like, well, whatever makes the film work. And so, which really says a lot about their kind of connection and relationship. And it's a good little movie,
Yeah, I liked it.
It's a good one, yeah. He's back in Philadelphia. It feels raw again. He feels like, the original Rocky character again. I really like it. Yeah, the idea of him being dragged back into a ring at the end for a fight is a little bit silly. And that's the only part of the movie that funny enough, I dislike. Everything else I really like about it. I mean, I'm not really sure what you could do if you didn't have the fight, but it is what it is. And for the first hour, interestingly for me, it predates Darren Aronofsky's movie The Wrestler, which I really like, with Mickey Rourke. And it feels like that film, but made sort of 5 years before. You get this kind of close-knit that you kind of camera hones in on the Sylvester Stallone Rocky character and stays with him, and you kind of feel his pain in this, and you can feel the arthritis in his hands, and you really feel a sense of aging and not really knowing where you belong anymore. And, again, it's talent. Sylvester Stallone story, like all the rest of them did. They always told the Rocky story. They told the Sylvester Stallone story, and at this point in his life, he was an older man. His past glories were all behind him. Didn't really know his place anymore, and the people in the movie come to his restaurant and want to talk old boxing stories of him and stuff, which is really cool, which is kind of where Stallone was. And like I said, other than the fight which is demanded of the script, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
The end just feels slightly cheap for me, having another fight, but I really don't know where you really go other than having that fight. But again, it gives Stallone a chance of redemption, again, to feel worthy and that he still has a place in this world. I guess he's kind of getting what Mickey has in the first Rocky film, that sense of achieving and belonging. I think it brings the Rocky franchise full circle, yeah. And for me, it was a satisfying ending. I know Stallone was really proud of this one. He was so glad he made it because he felt he left fans dangling at the end of part 5. So yeah, he was made up that he'd finally, for him, put the series to bed on a high note, and I think he did. I don't think, despite, you know, the Creed movies, which I just said, you know, I don't think they ever got anywhere near. You know, I think this film works as a full stop for me on Rocky, and it certainly will be my full stop here today at Sound of Vision.
It's a good franchise.
A very good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a massive fan, especially 1 and 2,
Yeah.
which I can't say enough good things about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to do this show today just because I really love Rocky 1 and 2. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my Rocky rant. I'm just going to make sure Hope is still awake, because I think I lost her around about Rocky 3.
No. No, because we talked about my favorite, 4.
Of course. So yeah, hopefully you'll all tune in for the next one.
Yeah, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram
Well done, Hope.
if you'd like to come and join us for some fun.
Absolutely. Hope doing the homework there. But until you do, or you decide you do, or decide you want to listen to some more, this is Ian James saying goodbye.